Have you ever stopped to wonder why some people simply never lose control, never flinch, and always seem one step ahead? While you react, they observe. While you explain yourself, they extract data. While you try to connect, they decode your emotional code. The truth is simple and disturbing. There's a psychological trick that was deleted from traditional manuals. A protocol so effective, it was erased because it made people uncontrollable. Today, it's going to be revealed. This video isn't about suppressing feelings, but about becoming emotionally invisible. A state where you feel but nothing leaks, where you observe but no one can read you, where you dominate without ever raising your voice. And before we go on, write in the comments, "I am mentally inaccessible." This phrase activates your vibrational shield and marks the beginning of your new identity, because the world doesn't need to know what you feel, and from now on, it won't. Jacobo Grinberg, one of the most enigmatic and provocative scientists of the 20th century, dedicated his life to studying consciousness and the way the human mind shapes reality. His research not only challenged the paradigms of traditional psychology, but reached such disruptive conclusions that many believe his work was deliberately silenced. And his disappearance, still unexplained to this day, only reinforces that belief. Grinberg discovered that the human mind doesn't just perceive reality, it projects it, and that our emotional responses create vibrational signatures that others read and use, often against us. While conventional psychology teaches empathy, self-regulation, and vulnerability as the pillars of emotional intelligence, Grinberg reached a much deeper layer, the ability to encrypt emotions in order to become mentally invisible. This approach has no place in modern therapy because it makes you ungovernable, and the system doesn't know how to handle someone who can't be manipulated. This video isn't based on assumptions or guesswork. It's grounded in a fusion of science, neurophysiology, and subtle energy fields. You're about to access knowledge that was deliberately erased, but is now being reactivated within you. Ever since the term emotional intelligence became popular, it has been presented as an essential skill for social and professional success. According to traditional manuals, being emotionally intelligent means putting yourself in someone else's shoes, showing empathy, managing your emotions lightly, and communicating kindly. But what if that narrative is just a fraction, carefully edited, of what it really means to master your emotions? The truth is that the popular version of emotional intelligence was designed to shape predictable, obedient, and emotionally accessible people. By teaching you to always be transparent, understanding, and open to dialogue, the system ensures you can be easily decoded, manipulated, and most of all, controlled. The empathy you're taught isn't about deep connection, it's about compliance. The self-control you're encouraged to practice isn't meant to protect your mind, but to soften your reactions, while others keep extracting information from you effortlessly. Most people believe they're being rational by staying calm, but what actually happens is that while they try to be good listeners, they leak emotional data through every pore. A slight raise of the eyebrows, a nervous smile, a subtle shift in tone. These small signals, ones you don't even notice, expose your fears, desires, and insecurities. And those who master emotional reading know exactly how to use them against you. That's the fatal flaw of the current emotional model. It teaches you how to expose yourself elegantly. You're still an open system, constantly transmitting everything you feel without realizing it. The result? You leave conversations feeling drained, pressured to give in, or even guilty for setting boundaries. Not because you're weak, but because you're too visible. Now think, who really masters the emotional game? It's not the one who feels less. It's the one who transmits less. There's a hidden layer of emotional intelligence, one you were never taught, where you feel everything, but no one can tell. It's the ability to remain inert under pressure, not out of coldness, but out of strategy. A skill you won't find in self-help books, but in military manuals on psychological warfare. And it has a name: emotional cloaking. This ability was deliberately excluded from public discourse because it creates people who cannot be manipulated. People who don't hand out reactions, who aren't easily provoked, who become psychologically unreadable. The modern world doesn't know how to handle such individuals because it can't control them. And that is exactly what you're about to become. Emotional cloaking is not emotional control. It's not about being calm, cold, or passive. It's about being invisible at the emotional level, a state where you still feel, but nothing you feel leaks to the outside world. Your face gives nothing away. Your voice doesn't waver. Your body doesn't yield. No signals, no cracks, no access points. The system stays active, but the transmission channel is shut down. You become an opaque mirror. Others look, but only see their own reflection. This technique is studied and applied in areas where being read is a direct threat to the mission. Interrogations, high-stakes negotiations, infiltration, personal security. The concept is so powerful that it was kept out of traditional clinical psychology, not because it doesn't work, but because it creates individuals immune to emotional reading. And that's dangerous to any system that feeds on human predictability. Emotional cloaking doesn't erase your humanity. You still feel anger, fear, anxiety, desire, but you learn to encrypt those emotions, not offering them as weapons for others to use against you. You don't react, you respond with silence, presence, and strategy. You observe without absorbing, stay grounded, while the environment destabilizes, trying to read you. And when no one can predict your emotions, no one can control you. What makes this practice so disruptive is that it doesn't rely on constant rationalization. It's a neurological restructuring, a protocol of selective shutdown of visible emotional behavior. Your face learns to stay neutral, your voice stabilizes, your body enters a state of silent command, and most importantly, your mind stops seeking external validation. Because most visible emotions are, deep down, unconscious attempts to be understood, accepted, or loved. By eliminating that impulse, you become a closed field of force. This technique only works with awareness and training. It's not about pretending to be indifferent. That would just be a mask, and masks crack under pressure. Emotional cloaking is different. It's an internal state of emotional self-sovereignty. You feel, you process, but you decide whether the world gets access. And almost always it won't. The impact is immediate. People around you start to hesitate. They don't know what you're thinking. They can't tell if you're annoyed, bored, or calm. And that uncertainty flips the script. Now they adjust to you. They measure their words, lower their tone, tread more carefully. The emotional field reorganizes, because you left the surface and entered silent command. Emotional cloaking is the hidden layer of emotional intelligence, and from this moment on, you're going to learn how to install it, not to hide from the world, but to stop the world from invading you. The body is the first traitor. Before you even open your mouth, it's already given everything away. Nervousness, tension, submission, guilt, a micro movement, an offbeat blink, an automatic gesture. Each is a clue that lets others read your internal structure. That's why the first layer of emotional cloaking is physical. If you don't master your body, you'll always be an open system, easy to exploit. Physical suppression isn't paralysis, it's command under pressure. A state where your body remains present but doesn't transmit. This requires training. For most people, the natural default is to move unconsciously. Hands that gesture too much, feet that shift, shoulders that tense, posture that yields to the environment. Every one of these movements reveals something, and those who know how to read will use it against you. The first step of physical cloaking is trained stillness. Staying still without looking uncomfortable is rare. But it's precisely this active stillness that disarms the other person. A body that doesn't react creates doubt. The other starts to wonder, are they angry, relaxed, bored? The absence of signals generates confusion, and where there's confusion, there's strategic advantage. The exercise is simple but brutal. Sit in front of a mirror for 5 minutes. No fidgeting, no scratching your face, no crossing and uncrossing your legs. Breathe silently. Blink every 6 seconds. Keep your face completely neutral. Now increase the difficulty. Recall an intense emotional memory, something that humiliated you, made you feel rejected or enraged. As the emotion rises, your body must remain still. No changes, nothing leaks. This training isn't just cosmetic, it reconditions your nervous system. It teaches your body it can feel without having to demonstrate. It teaches that the impulse to react physically can be slowed down, tamed, silenced. And that skill changes everything. Imagine a tense negotiation. Across the table, someone provokes you, pressures you, challenges you with their eyes. But your body stays neutral. No flinching, no shifting, no defensive posture. That absence of signal triggers uncertainty in them. They lose the map. They don't know if they struck a nerve or missed completely, and in that moment, you leave the reactive position and take control of the interaction. The body is language. And when you silence that language, you break one-sided emotional communication. The other stops analyzing you and starts questioning themselves. And in that inversion, you gain not just advantage, but absolute presence. This is the first layer of emotional cloaking, conscious physical suppression, a body that feels but doesn't reveal, a body that remains whole even when the environment tries to destabilize it. It's not weakness, it's contained strength, silence that commands respect. It's the foundation of a human being no one can read anymore. You can control your words, but your voice betrays everything. Even when your mouth lies, your tone reveals the truth. A slight high pitch shows insecurity. A misplaced pause signals guilt. A change in volume betrays fear, and that's why the second layer of emotional cloaking isn't about what you say. It's about how you sound. The voice is one of the most powerful tools of emotional reading. Trained people detect in milliseconds when someone is trying to please, defend, or hide discomfort. You may be saying, "It's fine," but if your voice trembles, rises, or rushes, the real message is, "I'm vulnerable." And in that moment, you've been mapped. The vocal neutrality protocol teaches that your voice must be steady, low, slow, and precise. It doesn't mean speaking like a robot. It means not delivering unnecessary emotional variations. Your tone doesn't change whether you're praised or accused. You respond with the same level of control as if reading a report. This creates subtle discomfort in manipulators. They no longer have a lever. Train this with simple phrases under simulated pressure. Someone says, "You disappointed me." Your response in a flat voice, "I'm sorry you feel that way." No rise in tone, no urgency to fix, no fragility in breath. The goal isn't to be cold, it's to be unreadable. Another example, "You never make any effort." Cloaked response, that's your perception. Short, neutral, no defense. The absence of emotion in your voice cancels the manipulation field. The one trying to extract reaction gets frustrated, disorganized. You didn't give them an entry point into the emotional game. You stayed like a wall of acoustic concrete. Neutral voice also avoids the classic mistake of over-explaining. Visible people feel compelled to justify, soften, or compensate. That produces a flood of microsignals, and each one is an emotional map handed over on a silver platter. But those trained in vocal cloaking speak less, speak firmly, and speak with calculated intention. Every word is measured, not as censorship, but as surgical precision. And the side effect is powerful. People start adjusting their tone to yours. When you stay steady, others naturally lower their volume. When you don't respond to provocation with emotion, others feel they've lost the script. And when there's no predictable script, you dominate the scene. This layer requires practice. Record your voice in real conversations. Notice shifts in tone, rhythm, volume. Train in front of the mirror. Simulate accusations and hold neutrality. Because once your voice stops being an emotional channel, you gain a rare advantage. You speak, but no one can interpret you. Most people think that not showing emotion means not feeling it, but that's an illusion, and a dangerous one. Suppressing emotions creates rigidity, disconnection, and eventually collapse. Real strength lies in feeling everything deeply, but choosing not to transmit anything. This is the third and most advanced layer of emotional cloaking, emotional encryption. Encrypting an emotion isn't ignoring it or repressing it. It's processing it internally with full presence without giving anyone access. Imagine that every emotion, anger, shame, desire, fear, is sensitive data. Instead of throwing it outward, you store it, code it, protect it. You become a shielded system against external reading while staying crystal clear internally. In practice, this means you don't react in the heat of the moment. When provoked, you feel anger rising, but you don't blink faster, shift tone, or move your body. You breathe slowly, hold posture, and let the emotion flow inside your private space. Without escaping into the environment, you observe without absorbing. You feel without surrendering. That is mastery. The mind of someone who doesn't encrypt is like an open window. Everyone sees what's happening inside. When attacked, their face reddens, their breath stumbles, their voice cracks. The other sees it and attacks more. It's a predictable cycle, but with emotional encryption, you shut the window. The emotion happens, but no one has access to it. The training is simple but brutal. Recall a situation where you were humiliated or betrayed. Feel the emotion rise. Now, don't move a muscle. Don't change your breathing. Stay fully present in the discomfort without letting anything leak. When the impulse to justify appears, redirect your focus. When the urge to attack appears, hold eye contact. This discipline teaches your brain that not everything felt needs to be exposed. This layer also prevents emotions from being used against you. By denying emotional access to others, you disarm any attempt at psychological manipulation. Did they try to guilt trip you? You observe. Did they try to awaken your pity? You listen but don't mirror. Did they try to pressure you? You remain still. And once the other realizes they can't provoke any emotional effect in you, they lose the power they thought they had. Important, this isn't about becoming stone. You still feel, but you stop reacting automatically. You stop being predictable. And the unpredictable, in the psychological field, is untouchable. Because no one knows what to expect. And where there's no predictability, there's no external control. Encrypting your emotions is the ultimate level of emotional cloaking. When you master this art, the world keeps trying to read you, but finds only silence. And in that silence, you become sovereign. Knowledge isn't power. Power is knowing when and how to apply knowledge. And in the case of emotional cloaking, it only becomes a real advantage when you bring it into the field. In difficult conversations, unexpected confrontations, environments where most lose control and expose themselves. Here, you'll learn how to apply this protocol in concrete situations and why it becomes a silent weapon in the hands of those who master it. Scenario 1. Direct conflict. Someone attacks you verbally, throws insults disguised as jokes, or tries to provoke you emotionally. The usual reaction is raised voice, arguments, restless body, but the cloaked person stays still. They listen, observe, and respond with short phrases, neutral tone, zero sign of impact. Something like, "Are you done?" or "Understood." That absence of reaction breaks the aggressor's script, who expected to destabilize you. Without signal, they lose momentum. You win without confrontation. Scenario 2. Negotiation. Most people give away what they want through their body. Eyes light up at an offer, voice rises with excitement, body leans in. Result? They become targets of manipulation. But the cloaked negotiates in a basal state. They hear offers without reacting, respond with pauses, watch the other tangle themselves in their own words. While maintaining neutrality, the other side feels pressured to improve the deal. Silence becomes leverage. Stillness becomes bargaining power. Scenario 3. Emotional manipulation. Someone uses drama, guilt, or victimization as a tactic. After everything I did for you, this is how you treat me. Most would justify, apologize, or soften, but the cloaked stays straight, calm, and minimal. I understand. No explanation, no apology unless strategic. This behavior demonstrates emotional sovereignty. The other feels their weapons no longer work and backs off. Scenario 4. Authority environments. Meetings with leaders, interviews, high-pressure rooms. In these spaces, those who talk too much lose ground. Those who try to impress lose respect. The cloaked speaks 60% less than average, responds unhurriedly, asks dangerous questions calmly like, "Why do you think that?" or "What's the basis for this conclusion?" While others try to be seen, they become the focal point effortlessly, because those who don't show too much become a mystery, and mystery always dominates. Scenario 5. Covert attack. Insinuations, indirect comments, provocations disguised as jokes. You want to respond, but that would be predictable. The cloaked smiles slightly, holds eye contact, and replies, "Anything else?" No defense, no justification. The silence starts to make the other uneasy. They try to decode you and fail, and in that failure, you become inaccessible. These are just a few examples. In any situation where emotion is exploited as weakness, emotional cloaking becomes strategic armor. It doesn't erase who you are, it protects what you feel. And when no one can access your emotions, you cannot be manipulated, bent, or turned against yourself. Now that you know the protocol, the choice is yours. Most will keep living as open systems, leaking emotions, being read, manipulated, and drained in every interaction. But you no longer have to be part of that. You have the key. The ability to become psychologically unreadable, emotionally sovereign, and invisible under pressure. From today on, practice. Choose when to appear and when to disappear, when to speak and when to stay silent. And when others try to decode you and fail, you'll know the cloaking has been installed. But remember, this isn't about seeming strong. It's about being unshakable. It's not about dominating others. It's about never being dominated again. This ability requires awareness, training, and presence. But once it becomes natural, it completely changes how the world perceives you. If this content resonated with you, subscribe to the channel now. Activate the bell to keep receiving hidden tools of personal power and self-mastery. And in the comments write, "I don't transmit, I command." This phrase seals your decision to live at a new level of control, because now you don't react, you govern.